Thanks for tuning in to A-Step's Artist at Home series. My name is Alejandro Rodriguez, and I have worn many hats for A-Step over the years, including most recently serving as the artistic director of the Artist as Citizen Conference. As many of you know, A-Step supports youth around the world by teaching social and emotional skills, including mindfulness, which are really essential to mental health, especially during times of struggle like the ones we're in right now. So this video series is an extension of that mission, and we believe that if we're going to be sharing these skills with youth around the world, that we ought to be practicing them ourselves. So I'm going to go ahead and share a skill, I guess, that I have. Not the one that most folks would be expecting from me. I'm primarily a theater artist, but I do know how to make one thing in the kitchen, which is Cuban coffee, or what we call cafecito. I'm actually broadcasting to you from Miami, Florida, which is, at least in the United States, the kind of capital of Cuban coffee, so that's appropriate. As far as ingredients that you'll need to follow along, I've set them out in front of me. A cup where you're going to put a little bit of sugar and you're going to mash up what will become the foam, or what we call the espuma. It's sort of a sugary layer that rises up to the top of the espresso that really sets Cuban coffee apart. Makes it especially delicious. You'll need some sugar. You can use turbinado or organic sugar. This is white powder sugar. You need some coffee grounds. This is Café Bustelo, which is the coffee I grew up drinking, but any would serve. And you'll need what we call a cafetera, which I've learned via Google is called a mocha pot. Apparently, it was designed by an Italian engineer, so it got popular in Italy first, but it's the way we make Cuban espresso, actually most of Latin America does. And then you'll need some water. So if you're ready, let's start. First thing you'll do is you'll take apart your cafetera, your mocha pot. This top part, which you can set aside for now. This little holder here, which is where your coffee grounds will go in 1 second. And then what we'll call the chamber, which is where your water gets poured. The chamber has a kind of bolt, and you can see the bolt on the inside. That's your marker of your water levels. So I'm going to do that right now. Right up to that bolt, and I'm going to set this aside. Next thing you'll want to do is grab a spoon, and you're going to want to go ahead and put the coffee grounds into the coffee ground holder as step 2. And the goal here, or at least the way that my abuela taught me, is to really kind of pack it in tight. The idea is the more coffee grounds you fit into this holder, the more potent your espresso is going to be. I'm going to go ahead and clean off the edges. And I really want to try to make a nice flat surface. Then you're going to go ahead and put this coffee ground holder onto the chamber. It'll fit snugly like that. And you'll reassemble your cafetera. That is going to be ready for brewing. Once you got it nice and closed, I'll put it on the stovetop. Next thing you're going to do is prepare your kind of foam making cup. Good rule of thumb is the amount of espresso shots that your mocha pot can make is the amount of tablespoons you'll want of sugar in this cup. So that makes about 2 or 3. So I'll start with just 2 spoonfuls of sugar. So once you've got your sugar in that cup, you can set it aside. Put the stovetop onto high, and you notice that I've got the cafetera with its lid open, because for the next few minutes we're just gonna, like a hawk, keep our eyes focused on this mocha. Coffee is brewing. I'm gonna grab a little bit of it, pour just a little bit. I'm gonna let the coffee continue to brew, and what I'm gonna do now is, if you see, I have a little bit of coffee in that, and I'm just gonna go to town on it. What you'll have here is the full kettle. All the coffee's brewed, so I can go ahead and turn that off. So this will look like a light brown paste. And watch what happens when I take this kettle and I pour it in. You'll see that paste start rising up and making that foam at the top of the coffee. That's like sweetens the coffee and makes Cuban espresso unique. Last thing you do is you take some coffee drinking apparatus. Mine has a Cuban flag on it because it's where my peoples are from. Yours can have whatever design makes you happy. You pour yourself a shot of Cuban coffee. One last look, you see that foam, and you enjoy.